Pia, how are you? It's so good to
I'm
see you.
okay.
Um,
Nice to see you.
so I got your recording, and let's go ahead and start. So this is a coaching that we will be basically focusing on how to follow a conductor and how to read all the annotations that are in the full score. So for this session, I have two scores for you: the vocal score, the one you see on your right, and I will be switching back and forth from the vocal score to the full score. Okay. Let's go to the next phrase, number 8. I wrote here, watch the conductor every time you take a breath. You're ahead in these phrases. So, mi piacciono, che ansi dolce. You're slightly ahead of the conductor. And it's kind of tricky because, yeah, you start the phrase and then the orchestra follows you in the downbeat here.
Yes.
And if you see the texture and the rhythm, everything is syncopated, so it's very difficult for you to hear a beat. So this is a very good moment. You should trust the conductor and watch him or her as much as possible, especially if you're in a real theater and the orchestra is in the beat, and sometimes you don't hear the orchestra very well. So when you start learning an aria and you have the full score and the vocal score, you can kind of see, you can kind of find the places that can be danger places in terms of ensemble, and this is one of those. So if we take a look and go to the full score, we have dolcemente in your vocal line. That means sweet, in a sweet way. Molto piano e dolce in the orchestra. Molto piano. So it's not that it's syncopated, it's also pianissimo. So you will hear basically a sustained chord underneath you, and you probably will lose sense of rhythm. So that's why it's very important to watch a conductor.
Yeah.
So let me show you how you did it in the recording, so you can realize how you were a little ahead of the orchestra.
Mi piacciono quelle cose che anzi dolce Maria che parla.
It might be because it's a little slow for you, and that's okay. Sometimes when you're making music with an orchestra and with a conductor, things will happen. Sometimes the conductor will be distracted with something that happened in the beat, and he or she might not be following you very well, and you have to make it work. So let's take this as an opportunity for you to learn how to make it work. Yeah. So I'd like you to sing this phrase one more time now, and pay attention to the downbeat. So when the conductor hits the downbeat, you have to say pia, mi pia. And same thing when you take the next breath, che ansi dolce ma li. So ma li has to go in the downbeat.
Mi piacciono quelle cose che anzi dolce Maria che parla d'amore.
That's very good. So it's very simple. It's just being aware of the orchestration, the rhythm, and knowing that might be a tricky place when you're performing this with an orchestra in a theater.
And watching the conductor is super important in this.
Yeah, especially Puccini. Yeah. Number 11 and 12, diminuendo on the fermata. So you have the fermata, cose, and diminuendo. Can needs to go with the conductor. So if you see, I highlighted this chord goes with this note. And I know it's a very long phrase, so we have to make sure we take a good breath here. So we make it all the way to nome, and then we take a breath in poesia.
Quelle cose. Quelle cose.
Yeah. So let's take a look to the full score now. So in the full score, you have a lot of things going on in this phrase. You have a portamento, cose. You have a fermata in ze. and then diminuendo in Z. So portamento, fermata, diminuendo. That's why it's very important for you to take a very good breath at the beginning of that phrase. So then you can make all these phrases till nome with a very nice color and with all those things. The syllable can needs to line up with this chord. So make sure you watch the conductor. And this is rallentando col canto. So this, if you're doing this with the conductor might be in 8 here. We are in 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So just watch the conductor there. Wow! And you made it in one breath. You didn't. Most of the singers take a breath before poesia. You made it in one breath.
I think I was supposed to take a breath because when I perform this song, I think I need.
Yeah, you need that. Yeah, doing the phrase by itself it's easy, but when you have to do the whole thing. So I let you to try it one more time and focus on two things. The portamento needs to be much more even. So I think this is a very good moment to share with you what Puccini says about portamenti. Let me open it. So he says, in order to acquire an effective portamento, the pupil must be careful not to slur one note into the other. With that sort of quavering, that one hears too frequently in ill-trained voices. On the contrary, he must so blend the different registers and so bind the notes that they seem to flow into one even tone. So we need to look for even tone when we sing a portamento. So I need to hear all the notes in between and a lot of vibrato in between co and ze. And then I want you to really enjoy that diminuendo on the syllable ze.
Okay.
So what if I tell you that diminuendo goes from forte to triple pianissimo? Quelle cose. So you need to, by the time you're moving on to the next note, you have to be in triple pianissimo and float.
Let me try one.
Okay. That's much better. I want you to continue exploring sotto di voce and making sure your diminuendos are super even. This one was a very abrupt diminuendo, and it needs to be super consistent. So it's something that you have to figure out with your technique to make it happen. Okay, let's go to the next phrase. We don't need to sing the next one, but basically here, I don't know if you noticed, I marked viola. So this time the violas are playing for you. Do you see that? So you have 2/4 notes in the violas and you have a pickup that is an 1/8 note. And the violas are doubling you throughout this phrase. So the first time you sang that phrase, Si mi chiamano Mimì, you had the full violin section. The second time you sang that phrase, Son tranquilla, you had one violin only. And the third time you are singing that is with one viola only. So the viola is a lower instrument, so and you're saying again the same text, except you don't have the Si. Mi chiamano Mimì.
She keeps repeating the same text, emphasizing how lonely she is. So each phrase should be different.
Yeah. So the first phrase, what do you say in the first phrase? People call me Mimì, but my real name is Lucia. And on this third phrase, you sing, people call me Mimì. The why, I don't know. And the orchestra has a molto espressivo, and you are being doubled by the but the violas. It's very interesting. A color, it's a richer and darker color than the violins. So we don't need to sing that phrase, but I wanted to point out the orchestration, how all the phrases are orchestrated in a different way.
Yeah.
This beautiful phrase, ma quando viene lo cielo. Orchestra is doubling you, listen to the orchestra, even rhythm. So if we go to the full score, you have, let's count how many musicians are playing the same melody with you. So we have flute, clarinet, English horn, first violins. We have, let's say that we have 40 first violin and 40 second violin. All, how many? Let's say that we have, maybe 40 is too much, but let's say 20. So we have 42, 43. We have 43 musicians playing the same melody and the same rhythm. Mm-hmm. And a conductor trying to keep everything together. So that's how important it is for you to make music with the other musicians. Of course, this is your area and it's about you. But if you don't have the orchestra underneath that's depicting the color, then we don't have opera. So just be aware of what's going on. And this is the first time it says si alza con molta anima. So this is si alza means you stand up. So you sound the whole aria laying down on the floor with him. And now when you say but,
Ma quando viene lo cielo.
Yeah.
I get
you get, and it's a very passionate So do you want to go ahead and sing that phrase and make sure you have a very even rhythm and you are listening? In this case, you will be listening to my right hand. But imagine you have a full orchestra with violins, clarinets, English horns, and flute playing with you.
This is the most passionate moment in the aria because she's opening up for the first time. She's not shy in front of Rodolfo, and she is really romantic and poetic, and I think it's a very important moment where she shows herself as a different personality. So it has to be very emotional too.
What do you see in the orchestra texture that changes?
I feel like the orchestra is more together with Mimì, so, and it's a participation of all the instruments at the same time. So I think all the music instruments are experiencing the same emotional feelings as Mimì at that moment.
Yeah. So if you come back one page, we have it's a very chamber-like instrumentation. One flute, one harp, pizzicato in the violin. So it's a very small orchestra in the phrases before. And here, when we move on, we have the whole orchestra: trombones, horns, bassoons, the full woodwind section, full strings. So all of it, we have like this huge texture change in the orchestra. And he writes con molta anima. Anima is soul and energy, so with a lot of energy and soul. So let's go ahead and try that phrase. Beautiful, Katia, very beautiful. Just make sure you continue working on your grace notes. Ma quando viene lo che. So when you have this grace note and this grace note, it's not very clear. Ma quando viene lo. And saying il primo sole. Yeah. Very nice. So let's continue. I just want to point out one thing that it's very good to know your traditions when you're singing opera. So in this case, when you're singing the phrase il primo bacio dell'aprile, when you're singing that, when you're holding that note, the vocal score has only poco allargando and an accent in E, but there is a tradition here to hold that note longer, and it's like some kind of fermata on that note. So that's why it's very important to listen to a few recordings and make sure you know the traditions. In the vocal score, there is no fermata on that note.
Mm-hmm.
So Puccini didn't wrote the fermata there, but it's a tradition. Look how many people are holding the note with you. So we have we have flute, English horn, clarinet, 4 horns, all the strings. So very important. I know you have a portamento down there, but you have to make sure everything is lining up with the orchestra. So watch the conductor, very important there. Okay. I just wanted to point out that because it's an important moment.